Richardson is a columnist for the American Spectator and president of the Grace Richardson Fund, a private foundation pioneering new free market policy solutions capable of bridging the gap on problems stuck in partisan gridlock. I am pleased to introduce Rod Richardson.
Good afternoon. At the Grace Richardson Fund, we're all about creating new conservative policy ideas, as we said, that can bridge the gap between left and right. And, you know, I'm here to talk to you about one of those ideas. Now, I've learned a lot about energy and a lot about climate, but I'm not really an expert in that. Well, I'm really more of an expert in conservative policy because I have deep experience in that. You know, the Richardson family foundations have been active in supporting conservative ideas for many decades, going back to the 60s, 70s, and 80s. My cousin Bill there and I sat on the Richardson Foundation board, and we reviewed original grants that established such policies as supply-side economics, monetarist economics, neoconservatism, work of Irving Kristol, Norman Podhoretz. We supported dissidents in the Soviet Union, Sakharov, Solzhenitsyn. We supported Solidarity. We supported thinkers like Hernando de Soto in Peru, who decided that it was better to, rather than the path proposed by terrorists like the Shining Path, he proposed another path of privatization and letting poor people who were forced into the black market come into the legal market. So those are the kinds of free market ideas that we've thought about. The list goes on much longer than that, but I just want you to know that today you are hearing from a real deal Reagan conservative. And I have a very good idea about what new conservative policy should look like and what conservatives will accept as politically palatable climate policy. I'm also here to tell you that capitalism can save the planet. And conservative, pro-capitalist ideas can help make that happen. Now, that is contrary to a lot that we've been hearing for many, many years. You have hardcore left-wing environmentalists like Naomi Klein who believe capitalism is basically evil and must necessarily ruin the climate and the environment. Even mainstream climate activists insist we must accept a regimen of carbon taxes, subsidies, regulation, or face climate catastrophe. Now, all of that sounds to conservatives like taxes, spending, and a big government agenda. So, you know, they perceive it as sure to wreck the economy and make us poorer and less free. Now, it's no surprise that the more extreme deniers say that, you know, they don't believe the sincerity of those who say these things about climate, and they think it's all left-wing conspiracy to bring about world socialism, that clean energy can never compete against fossil fuels. Well, what I want to tell you today is that really both of those views are wrong. Both of them are wrong. The reasons why is the second thing that I want to tell you about. I'm sure that you've all heard about the bad climate catastrophe tipping point. Well, I understand that this morning we heard a little bit about the second tipping point that has just been passed this year, a good tipping point, and one that I hope, it's a very subtle one. People have noticed it, but not everybody's caught on to what the real implications of it are. So the 2015 Lazard levelized cost of electricity is the first study that I know of that has shown solar electricity as cheaper than gas, coal, or nuclear and many other technologies as well. And that's a real benchmark. It's not a fluke. It's part of a clear trend to unsubsidized profitability. And the thing that's really key is that it's here faster than experts predicted. Not only have the deniers been wrong, but the experts have underestimated the power of the market to address climate. So the good news is basically that the clean capitalists have rocked. You know, this trend is very real. Since 2009, solar costs have come down 82%. Wind's down 61%. and on and on. I'm sure you know these figures. You're all in the solar industry. I don't need to quote them all to you. But, you know, it's not just been solar. It's been wind, too. And gas as well has been an improvement over coal and brought down CO2 emissions. So the experts have been wrong about the power of the market to help climate. And it's really been quite noticeable in solar when you have the International Energy Administration needing to redo its solar forecast 14 times since the year 2000. They've had to adjust their forecasts upwards because they've underestimated what solar could do. So what are the policy implications of emerging profitability? Well, when profits appear, suddenly tax rates on those profits matter a lot, right? Because a tax rate cut increases the return on investment and attracts more investors. So tax cuts drive down costs faster by accelerating low-cost market leaders who attract the most new investment and so grow and drive costs faster. See, tax cuts only benefit profitable companies, unlike subsidies, which can often benefit money-losing enterprises. Tax cuts only benefit the profitable ones, but they benefit the most profitable ones the most. So those are generally the low-cost leaders. They get accelerated, they grow the fastest, they attract the most investment. So you're making the most successful company, the ones that are really focused on driving down the cost, you're making them grow faster. So using tax cuts is one really key way that you can drive down energy costs faster and even drive those technology drivers that are in the market even faster than they're going now. So one of the other policy implications of emerging profitability, and you know, it's not here right now, but it will appear, is that subsidies and regulations will become harder to justify as clean energy competes on price alone, driven by market forces. So you will find that's true in coming years, I think. So suddenly relevant now, 2016, a policy that would not have made a lot of sense 10 years ago suddenly makes sense now. You know, you have a whole new powerful policy option on climate change. Clean tax cuts is what I call it. That's low rates on all investment taxes on clean decarbonizing investments. And let me make it clear, this means rate cuts on corporate income, capital gains, estate taxes, dividend interest taxes for clean tech investments. So imagine if investors and millionaires and billionaires and even ordinary folks could take, instead of getting 60% of their profits after tax, they now got 90%. Say, instead of leaving 50% of their that wealth to their heirs, they could leave 90% of it to their heirs. Think what an incentive that would be to build more windmills, more solar farms. So you can see the power of this idea, possibly. And the result, cheap, abundant, clean energy, and also a boost to the GDP, because tax cuts boost GDP. Any economist will tell you that giving a tax cut takes a weight off the economy. It results in more profit. If you add a tax, it'll bring down the GDP. So, but not only is it a question of that, but you know, it's a question of clean, cleaner, cleanest. You know, the tax code, by adopting a clean tax code, you tilt the playing field to favor ever cleaner technology and practice, right? It's not just the economy, but every industry can become cleaner, right? So you could apply this and make hydro cleaner, right? You could do it within an industry to reward better practices. So it's, and you know, we're not just talking about carbon either. You know, so it's not just clean tech, it's ever cleaner clean tech. And it's not just carbon, it's other major externalities that can be taken into account with this. Other safety issues, other security issues. So clean tax cuts can reward best practices in wind, solar, hydro, nuclear, batteries, gas, mining, energy efficiency, low emissions vehicles. Now, let me say that I'm not making a definitive recommendation about this. What I'm doing is I'm putting forward a policy option that may not have made a lot of sense 10 years ago, but does make sense now. And I am saying, you guys, tell me what to do with it and what not to do with it. I'm sure that there will be a lot of different ideas about this, and I'm not definitively saying that, you know, I have all the answers. I'm saying that there's a new policy option on the table and a policy option that can appeal to conservatives. So it's something that you should take seriously if you want to appeal to conservatives. So I'd like to mention, you know, there are a few examples of technologies that might do well. We have, speaking here, Ken Loesch, who is from Zero Energy. He's going to be speaking after me. He's got two very interesting technologies. The Zero Diesel Conversion Gas Kit takes a diesel truck and makes it run on natural gas, saving 90% of emissions. Something like that, you might have if it works, which I'm not sure of, but if it does work, it would, you know, and if he makes profits doing it, then it would get a tax cut like that. They have a flare gas technology as well, which makes their gas wells cleaner. It takes the flare gas and reuses it to run the wells. So you have a technology like that, it could make the entire natural gas industry cleaner, less emissions. Now, I can't vouch for all these technologies, but those are rough examples of what might help. So, you know, I'm going to skip over some things because I only have a few minutes. So I do want to talk about, you know, what makes sense for conservatives. And I want to say, let's see, where we have here. All right. So good climate policy should make sense whether climate change is real or not. If you're trying to convince conservatives, you want to make sure that your policy has benefits other than just climate change, because they may not believe that climate change is real. So clean tax makes cuts to a lot of conservatives that I've talked to, whether climate change is real or not, because it's a tax cut. You know, as Milton Friedman said, I'm in favor of cutting taxes under any circumstances, for any reason, for any excuse, whenever it's possible. You know, it makes sense because it promotes the GMP, it promotes the connection between tax cuts and growth, it promotes capitalism and free enterprise, and it shows how capitalism can save the world. That's all things that conservatives are interested in and reasons why they tell me they like this. Everybody likes cheap, clean energy, air, water, and food. So, you know, there are all these reasons why people would like this anyway. Clean tax cuts presents an opportunity for political agreement. Tax rate cuts on clean energy, you know, can appeal to conservatives who are pro-tax cuts. It can appeal to liberals who are pro-environment. This is a transpartisan solution that delivers the core values of each political bloc. So I'll just say that, you know, there's a triple win of staying on the positive side. And that's what clean tax cuts do. Instead of acting on the negative side the way a carbon tax does, trying to hammer down the externalities, which has a lot of questionable side effects, clean tax cuts are all carrot, no stick. They punish no one, they boost the positive. The results, conservatives get a broad supply side tax cut, liberals get a powerful climate and environmental solution, and the economy gets a GDP boost from low taxes and cheap, clean energy. So it's a triple win. So in any event, as I mentioned earlier, we are partnering with the Jack Kemp Foundation to study and develop this idea further. And we'd be very interested in partnering with anyone else who wants to take a look at how this might apply to things that they're looking at. So please get in contact with me if this makes sense for your organization and what you're doing. Thank you.